As long as human beings have walked the earth, we have told ghost stories. Tracing back to ancient Mesopotamian spirits, laying the foundations of the medium by demanding a proper burial and the completion of unfinished work, to their many appearances in mythology all over the world, all leading us to the masterpiece that is Ghost Adventures.
Gee, behind you. What the What the is that?
It's a donkey!
As we enter fall, I thought it would be fun to take a look at ghost stories from antiquity. Before we get started, I'll just make it clear that I will not be covering ghosts that appear either biblically or in mythology, because they usually aren't portrayed in a horror setting. They tend to be more figures that either guide or warn their story's protagonist. I've also rewritten the stories for a more modern audience. Don't worry, I've kept the bones, I've just reworked the wording, because if I kept them the same, the only thing scary would have been trying to listen to me reading Old English translations of text thousands of years old. I'm going for more campfire style ghost stories, but I'll leave a link to the original text in the description below. So with that, let's get into the video, starting with the oldest recorded haunted house. Long ago, a large, extravagant, yet empty house sat on the outskirts of Athens. While it was available for rent at an unreasonably low price, none of the locals would dare take up the offer, largely due to the stories of past tenants. At night, people said the silence would stretch until you swore you could hear the walls breathe. Then, faint at first, came the sound. Metal scraping, chains rattling on stone. The noise would creep closer and closer until finally, it was in the room with you. And then you saw him, an old man, his skin stretched tight over bone, beard tangled and filthy, hair jutting out like needles, shackles clamped to his wrists and ankles, rusted iron biting into his dead flesh. His hollow eyes followed you, unblinking, while his chains dragged and clattered as he moved. A bringer of pestilence, anyone brave enough to stick out the paranormal first lost sleep, then fell into sickness before finally being claimed by death. Even during the day, the now bedridden renters still caught glimpses of him in the corners of their rooms, always watching. Eventually, the house was abandoned, left to rot in silence, windows as black as sockets. So the landlord, desperate to at least have somebody paying the bare minimum, sent out ads to the surrounding area. It was one of these ads that drew a philosopher named Athenodorus to investigate the property. Even after hearing the stories from the locals, he still decided to take up the offer. The first night came, and Athenodorus lit a lamp and was fast at work, writing on scrolls. He was alone, having sent his servants away out of fear for their health. As he sat there, he began to hear a sound over the scratching of his pen. Chains being dragged on the floor from deeper within the house, yet he could tell their source was getting closer as he approached the chamber door. Athenodorus paid it no mind and focused on his writing. He listened as the sound got louder and louder before abruptly stopping in what Athenodorus could only assume was the entrance to his chamber. He looked up, seeing the gaunt man chained to himself standing in his doorway. He stood exactly as he had been painted in the stories before. The specter slowly raised his gnarled arms and made a beckoning motion. Athenodorus simply sat there, studiously. His response was to raise one finger in the "I'll be with you in 1 second" motion. After this, he resumed to his writing. Unhappy with this response, the ghost rattled his chains incessantly until Athenodorus looked up again. When he did, the ghost made the beckoning motion yet again. This time, Athenodorus relented. He picked up his lamp and followed the phantom. It led him through the winding halls of his own home till they wound up on the lawn outside. When the wraith suddenly disappeared, Athenodorus marked the spot with some leaves and returned to his work. The next morning, Athenodorus called for the magistrates. At the spot where the ghost had disappeared, they dug, and buried deep in the soil were bones, twisted through with chains eaten by time but still clamped tight. The remains were taken, laid to rest, and the house was quiet from then on. One night in camp, the Roman general Brutus lay awake in his tent. The soldiers around him slept, but he couldn't. The air was heavy, and with the kind of silence that makes you expect that something is going to happen at any second. Then he saw it. A figure stood before him, hollow-eyed and with a face with more shadow than flesh. Brutus stared at it, his heart pounding. The figure spoke in a low, steady voice. "I am your evil spirit. You will see me again. at Philippi. And just like that, it was gone. When the Battle of Philippi came, Brutus remembered those words, and in the chaos of war, as everything fell apart around him, he knew the Spirit had returned, and that the prophecy was being fulfilled. A long time ago in Thebes, there was a high priest named Khonsuemheb. One night, he was walking through the necropolis, the great city of the dead. The moon was bright, the air dry and still, when suddenly he felt that he wasn't alone. Out of the shadows came a figure. It looked like a man, but its skin was pale and thin, stretched tight like old papyrus. Its eyes were sunken, its voice hollow, and it drifted more than walked. The ghost spoke first. It told Khonsuemheb its name, Nebuzek. Once, long ago, it had been a soldier, a man of honor, but now its tomb had collapsed. Its body was exposed, left without offerings, without rest. "I am in torment," said the ghost. "The sands shift over me, and I have no shelter. I wander hungry, thirsty, forgotten. Help me." The priest's heart pounded, but he listened. The spirit begged him to rebuild its tomb, to restore its place among the dead, so that it could finally be at peace. He said he would see that the tomb was repaired, the rites were given, and that the name of Nebuzmek would not be lost to the desert winds. And with that, the ghost began to fade, but its words lingered, the reminder that even the dead can suffer, and that without care, they will not rest. However, we will never know if this particular ghost found rest, as the ending of the story has been lost to time, a terrifying thought in itself. These have been just a few of the oldest ghost stories that time does remember. While I've changed the direct word for word, the themes remain, and I was fascinated to see how the same themes of ghost stories have held for millennia, whether it be a haunting, cryptic foretelling, or even the lack of a proper burial. These are still true for modern ghost stories. And with that, this video comes to an end. Thank you guys for watching, and absolutely blowing up my last video. As of now, it's at 15,000 views and rising. That's amazing for a channel with just 25 subscribers. So if you're interested in more content like this, or want to just support the channel, then feel free to subscribe. But anyway, thank you for watching, and I'll catch you in the next one.